I need to buy a house here, bro. A little farm.
When are you going to stop and build a family? I mean, not stop, but slow down, settle.
Part of me is like, wants to, not wants to, thinks that New York is somewhere I could live forever. Move, Malaga. Part of me is like, New York is somewhere I could live long term or live forever permanently. Then part of me is like, you know what? The West isn't exactly the place. Like, it's not exactly doing well. For business, it's always going to be the best. But like, I can do business there without being there. And if lifestyle is the question, then the Mediterranean is obvious. So just, what could be better than my current situation and setup? Live in a tax haven up until I'm 35, because that's when, wait, 35? 2021 I got to Cyprus. 2021 I got to Cyprus. 17 years is, how old was I? 22, 20. I was 22. Yeah. So when I'm 37, I'll no longer have the tax benefits in Cyprus.
Why?
Because right now I'm a non-domiciled resident, tax resident, which means I get no dividend tax and low income tax.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how it works? Oh,
Yeah.
shit, look at the camera.
Did it just fall over? Malaka. Just go easy on the corners.
No way. All right.
Trying to explain that to the police. Yeah, and then you become just a normal resident after 17 years.
Mm-hmm.
But my friend, 17 years is a long time, so I'm not worried about that. And taxes change, and tax rules change, and laws change. So I'm in Cyprus now for the tax benefits, but those benefits could change, could become better, could become worse. I might get sick of paying 12%. I might want to pay 0% and move to Monaco. Monaco's not that bad of a place either. It's on the Mediterranean, 0% tax. I have some friends there.
But you have to give them 1 million, right, to live there?
Yeah, well, you need to buy a property there, basically, and live there 6 months of the year, which by that stage it will be fine for me. But to have the smallest, shittiest place is like 2-3 million bucks.
Yeah.
That's reasonably livable. But I think I actually want to settle down, but it's actually illogical. Settling down in America, okay, well, settle down in America, what? And I just have ridiculous expenses. Property market is crazy. Like, I can get the benefit of going there 2-3 months a year, every year,
Without
for the next
actually living there.
without living there, and do my, if I want to do podcasts or meetings, sure, boom, I'm there. I can be there overnight. But there's very little benefit to actually being there full time. I haven't even done 3 months there in one stretch for a long time, so I think I'll do 3 months this year, and then I just, see that as kind of the must do, and then after that I'll be like, you know what, I really don't need to live there. 3 months is more than enough every year. Don't need to be anywhere anymore, man. Which means you need a proper reason to be anywhere. And the only proper reason to be anywhere is your friends and family are somewhere, or it's somewhere that gives you something to do, gives you some peace. Greece, even a place like this, gives you peace to live in. So a couple months a year here is not so bad. Some lifestyle, fun, in Barcelona makes sense. But you also just got to play it as you see it. Like, if I met a girl, which I'm totally up to, and she wanted to step down, I'm like, yeah, fine, probably. It's not a big issue for me. I'm still going to do 2-3 months here and there. But like 6 months somewhere, a year, is pretty consistent for me. I'd have no issue with that.
So you're not a digital nomad, you're a guerrilla entrepreneur.
Guerrilla entrepreneurship. It's the
Guerrilla
new era.
entrepreneurship. What's the
When
difference?
Tim Ferriss had made the 4-hour work week,
Yes.
that was the Bible of being a digital nomad. He said in like the first few pages, if you can make your work geography independent, then you can like triple, quadruple the power of your money. And that is nice, and that's good. And I think that book came out super long ago when you think about it. It's like 2004, maybe 2008, like a long time ago. And digital nomadship became popular in general. But then the COVID and work from home movement made it like pretty much
Mainstream.
not mainstream, but very popular, because working from an office is mainstream, but
Yeah.
it's not so crazy anymore to work from.
No, nowadays
Anyway.
most people work from home even like 1 or 2 days per week, but still it's more convenient for the companies.
Yeah, it's cheaper for them, but at the end of the day, it's like, is that really, you know what it's like? It's like you negotiated and you wanted the big item, but the boss gave you the small item, and you were happy with the small item, so he's like, fuck, great. I didn't have to give up the big item. It's like saying, I want a 100K salary and the parking spot, the best parking spot. They say, look, I'll give you an even better parking spot, but you keep your shit salary. Okay. Wait, that's not a good negotiation. Like, that's not what I feel like solves the issue that most young people want, which is they want to travel the world, they want to have the adventure, they want to have the freedom, and then they also want to build something for themselves while doing all of that, build equity in something. And when I was a kid, it was basically become a digital nomad, which was more like go on a gap year and maybe make some money and then give up after a year and ask your mum for funds, which wasn't an option for me, but plenty of people did that. Or you go straight into university and you become a banker or an engineer, whatever the fuck you want. But it's like one or the other. You can go on a gap year for 3-4 years, travel the world, blah, blah, blah. But you're not going to be building anything during that period. It was just assumed. You can't travel and build something so solid. But you can, actually. Like, I think about it, it's like, people think I'm, early, when I started traveling, people were like, oh, George is on a holiday, basically, non-stop. It's like, you're working at an investment bank, you build nothing for yourself. Sure, you have a nice salary for Australia and you lose half that to tax. And you lose the rest of it to your mortgage that goes over 50 years for insane property prices. Meanwhile, I've traveled, and you only go on holidays to Bali and Mykonos and Ibiza every year with the same friends, and you do coke and get drunk every single weekend at the same bars, same clubs with the same people, doing the same thing, same talking about the same stories about the golden days back in high school. Give me a break. I'll pack my bag, travel the world, and build a business that has real equity, man. And here I am, like 10 years later from starting everything full time, basically. And I can, like, without arrogance, say at least I built something solid that's comparable. Like, if these people lost their job tomorrow, which is people lose their job all the time,
Yeah.
there's nothing there for them except for some savings, which is almost an impossibility in expensive cities like Sydney and in the West. All that to say is, like, if you're a young person looking for something more, looking for something better than what society's planned out for you, then I would call it this new phase of type of entrepreneurship It's not Silicon Valley startup dot com boom. That's not what I think the phase we're in. It's not like in the late 90s, early 2000s, everyone had a new startup idea that got like $50 to $1 billion in valuation, and that still continued for like 10 more years. And then, being a digital nomad was, the kind of popular entrepreneur type phase, but that wasn't necessarily really pure entrepreneurship. That's working from home for others.
Yeah.
And I think now that whole phase is over. I think we've become disillusioned with the whole digital nomad work from home thing. We have the whole shtick. It's like, so I'm still working for you, but in the comfort of my own home, which kind of makes it harder to work for you because I'm more comfortable. I want to sleep. Like,
yeah, there are more distractions.
Yeah. The only solution is obviously to work for yourself. Now, like I said, like, you always work for someone. Jeff Bezos works for his shareholders they work for their customers. I work for my clients. But you basically just set in the terms of your suffering, which is fine. That's life. Life is suffering. But I think the terms that you can set now are, hey, I'm going to have a really quite extraordinary life, and even in your 20s, travel, have adventures, culture, all this stuff, whatever you're into, and build a business that has real equity, so that during that period, it's not wasted years where you have to catch up on your colleagues and your competitors.
Yeah, you're suffering for yourself. You're suffering for building something.
You're building something and enjoying life. Like, you can literally have your cake and eat it too. There's no reason you can't do both. And look, that just comes down to the power of the internet, the power of content, and the freedom it's given us. But that's why I said I'm coining this term, this phrase, guerrilla marketing, GUE, guerrilla. It's the type of entrepreneurship, guerrilla entrepreneurship, that I think is the next phase of entrepreneurship. It's not startup, it's not .com boom, it's not crypto boom, it's not AI boom, it's not digital nomad, it's not work from home. It's being a lean, agile business owner that doesn't have an office necessarily where people come in every day, which I think is a waste of money when you're starting a young business. It's not having employees in an office, in your office, or even in your country, or even in the West.
Yeah.
International employees.
You're leveraging the fact that you can simply delegate your work, outsource your work to people on the other side of the world, which will be much happier to have your $10 per hour to do the same job rather than...
And it'll be high quality too.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I relate it to guerrilla warfare because in conventional warfare, big army, uniforms, cost, logistics, it's a big and unwieldy mechanism to win. And sometimes it does win. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes you need to fight conventionally. But I think if you want to get started in the current landscape of the world and economy, you need to do that through, and the best way to do that is by being very lean, being very agile, keeping costs extremely low, using the highest leverage techniques like content, marketing, to build your business.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, how does that relate to guerrilla warfare? Well, if you're saving money by not paying rent, not paying heaps of.
So how does it relate to the warfare?
Yeah, so one thing is being agile financially. What's the other thing? Being elusive. Like a lot of the time and adapting to like the lay of the land, right? Like guerrilla warfare is all about laying low when you need to lay low and attacking when you need to attack and being strategic about that. And a lot of the time entrepreneurship is that. You just sometimes lay low, do the work. You're not looking to, make a lot of fanfare. Then other times it's like, yeah, you know what, you need to attack here and now, do a bunch of content, for example, start hammering the phones on doing cold calls. And then, like I said, sometimes you need to just sit down and deliver and do the work. But I think this general, like, you know, you don't start a business now in your 20s or 30s even, where you say, I'm going to put a business plan together, and then I'm going to ask my family or friends for 120K, and then you start a business, and then you get a loan. Like, I don't think that's the best way to do it. I don't think that's the most efficient way to do it. That would be what conventional warfare is. Guerrilla warfare, guerrilla entrepreneurship is working on it over time. Maybe you have a job, doing it on the side until it becomes your mainstream thing, maintaining low costs.
Like you taught me that time. So just finding a job that is giving you enough spare time to dedicate to something which is not drinking alcohol and doing nothing at a cafe.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually hustling, so starting a little side hustle and then making it become an actual business, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's...
Maybe at the beginning you're gonna be a freelance, and then you're gonna start acquiring more clients. You have to...
Yeah, and that's the thing about like guerrilla entrepreneurship and guerrilla warfare. It's you use what you've got until you've got some more, and then you use every ounce of that, you know, a new sale or a new partner or a new client. You do a great job of that, and then the weird thing is guerrilla warfare, eventually, if you win in guerrilla warfare, you become eventually quite conventional in how you do business, but you maintain some of your morals. I mean, look, right now, I have an office, but it's more of a very small office that I use as a base a few months of the year. And things do slowly become more conventional, but only by choice. For me, I can expand and shrink as needed based on the seasonality of my business, right? So I'm not left in the lurch with too many expenses at one time of the year or another, which is what happens if you do entrepreneurship conventionally. You hire 50 people on a high salary. You have to pay them year round for a couple of years, because that's how jobs are made. How, you know, the laws are around jobs, and in the West, you're going to have pretty high expenses.
Yeah.
But if you have contractors, people working on commissions, just meeting KPIs, working internationally, you can be much leaner, and you can expand and shrink as you need to, your workforce, that is. But I think this is the way to do it. I think this is the new phase of entrepreneurship. And I think that we have no choice. They forced society and the cost of living crisis and the bloody interest rates and the way everything is. Do we have much of a choice to do it any other way?
No,
besides guerrilla warfare?
Yeah, the alternative is just like penny pitching, just like most of our parents are doing, because they are taught this way. They grew up like this. They grew up penny pitching, because maybe 20, 30 years ago, there weren't that many opportunities. Or maybe it was more difficult to access this entrepreneurship.
I mean, they didn't have the internet to access that. They didn't have examples of people like them of doing it, basically. But for us now, if you want to learn something, you Google it, and you can find a YouTube tutorial with this helpful Indian dude who's going to give you 3 hours on how to do it. It's fantastic. Like, the access to knowledge is great.
And then you can outsource your work to that same Indian guy.
It's great.
Which is going to be cheaper than probably
better quality.
Yeah, exactly.
So now it's just a matter of strategizing.
Yeah. It's not worth it anymore, just like you said, hoping for an online job, you know. When I started after the high school, I joined this university, this IT university, with the goal of finding a job in IT, and hopefully after 2 or 3 years, joining a company that will give me the possibility to work abroad, to work from home, to work from everywhere, right? To work online. But then I just realized, wait, am I really going to suffer for someone else? Because even, okay, let's say you're living in Bali because you're working online for this huge tech company, but still you're suffering for someone else. Why would you?
Well, that's what it comes down to, and I'm not talking about guerrilla entrepreneurship as if it's the hot new thing. What other choice do we have? Like, I'm saying it as a defensive strategy, right?
Yeah.
I think it can be used to offensively succeed and win the battle of the world that we're in, let's say climbing the socioeconomic ladder. But what other choice do we have? Honestly, like, I don't see that, any other options. Man, I kind of feel shortchanged sometimes when I think about it. It's like, we're born in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the greatest wave of wealth increase, the middle class coming in, the lower class coming to the middle class from Europe, from North America, from China, that has happened. Now we're in this, the populations blew up, now they're slowly coming back down, which means a lot of things will be coming back down, or coming down full stop. What does this mean for us? Well, things aren't going to be as great as they were. And humanity always improved year on year, living longer, wealth-wise, wealth distribution-wise, almost every year improved. It's more democratic year on year for like hundreds of years. And in the last 20 years, things have been slowly declining. Population, cost of living has increased.
Just because everything is cyclic. It's normal. That's after a boom, there is a flat and maybe a down period.
Except that I'm talking about the big macro boom of what's happened over a couple hundred years now, basically since the Industrial Revolution. And we're on the cusp of that, and we're going to see it. So it's like, if you want to accumulate wealth and some sort of power, even just to have a good life for yourself, family, and friends, I think the best way to do that is, unfortunately, guerrilla warfare. It's harder, actually. It's not easier. Going to university does nothing for you. Actually makes it much harder for you to get into the world of entrepreneurship and to accrue the type of wealth and freedom you want. So
tell me.
So it's like, I look at even when it comes down to like, it's the same. This is the same kind of feeling that I get with idols, and like we used to look up to so many entrepreneurs and male figures, and everyone has been cancelled. They did some scumbag things, or they're not the reputable entrepreneur that I thought they were. And I'm like, and then as an entrepreneur, you go and you live by the standards that these entrepreneurs or these famous people set, and then people make fun of you for that. It's like, so if society tells me to do something, I do it, and then I'm a piece of shit for doing it. So who can I listen to? University is not telling me the right thing to do. The economists I can't listen to. The news I can't listen to. The bloody idols and people in the books I can't listen to. Who can I listen to? I can't listen to anyone on YouTube because apparently they're all fake and full of shit. So it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Like, the guidance that was given to me, I can't trust anything, but it feels like. So if I want to start a business, what do I do? And that's how I felt going through the last 10, 13 years of entrepreneurship. No one feels like a sole source of truth. So I just have to figure it out on my own, basically. And look, the reality is, sure, there's a lot of good and bad people in the world, and you can learn from the mistakes of the bad people. And you can learn, and there's no one who's fully 100% good, so you got to take what you can from anybody. But I think that's the kind of generation we're in. I mean, I know a lot of people, even down to our parents. Like, I know a lot of people who their dad or mum wasn't great. They just weren't there, or they didn't push them to do what they wanted to do, or be creative, or do that, maybe risky thing. And that's fine. And at the end of the day, I think more than ever, we're in a generation where we are more brought up, our mothers, especially men, are more brought up by their mothers than fathers. And I think that It's like what they said in Fight Club, we're a generation of men brought up by women. Something true about that. I think that's why all those manosphere dudes become so famous, like your Jordan Petersons. But I think that's the question. Like, more generally, it's like, what do I do? Everyone I hear and listen to and is supposed to be giving me some source of direction is giving me no direction, and apparently is a scam. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, who do I talk to? Everyone apparently is a scam. And that's the hard part. The hard part is knowing what to do. So be agile. In guerrilla warfare, you need to be agile. You need to go from point to point, objective to objective, learn what you can and move on from certain, books, certain people that you read from, because they might not be as, knowledgeable as you first thought or wise as you first thought. So just the same, you need to be agile with your finance. You need to be agile with your learning. You can't just subscribe. You can't just, this isn't like, 70 years ago where Warren Buffett's just like, I'm just going to hang out with Dale Carnegie and just do everything he says basically and learn from him, and I'll probably be sweet. We can't do that anymore. We have to, take in a couple sources from some people and not take other stuff they say and block out other people completely. We're in an age of there's a fog of war now more than ever in entrepreneurship, I think.
Yeah, there is a lot of information, and you need to have to know where to look, because otherwise you will get
you don't know what's fake, you don't know what's real, you don't know what's a massive mistake.
Crypto,
I think
AI,
exactly. It's like how many entrepreneur or future entrepreneurs or people who want to be entrepreneurs, let's say, they're going down the crypto route. So that's not entrepreneurship. Hey, I'm not here to say it's good or bad, but I know what it isn't. It's not entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Just because you're trading value that's not entrepreneurship, that's trading.
True.
But as an entrepreneur, it is not entrepreneurship, that's for sure. So there's it's a minefield, dude.
And then I believe it's somehow limited. And then you're still not fully in control of your outcome. Yes, you can control your risk.
You're not even remotely in control. Let's not pretend. The stock market is the same thing. Don't trade on the stock market and tell me you're an entrepreneur. Let's be honest here.
And then if it was that,
easy.
Yeah, that easy to make money and that's rewarding, all those crypto gurus wouldn't make all these courses and make money from the courses, because they also understood that it's just not the way you make money.
You know what the example would be?
Yeah.
Their example in people who are gurus in pretty much anything. They aren't in their correlation to warfare would be, they are the merchants of death. They're the ones who sell the guns. They don't care about who wins or who loses. They're there just to take a ticket. Here, buy a gun. Go. Oh, you died.
Kill yourself or kill someone else.
I don't care.
Yeah.
They're just there to cash in. They don't care if you win or lose about you think Andrew Tate's there caring about whether you lose inspiration to... No, he doesn't care. All he cares is that you tried and you paid him $50 a month for however long. He's a merchant of death. He's a arms dealer, basically, in the same capacity. It's like building a business, building a career is just as hard as this country was built. Italy, modern day Italy, was brought about by Garibaldi more than anything, definitely more than Victor Emmanuel. But he laid low. Victor Emmanuel was like, hey, help us out a bit. And then step by step, he gathered some forces in the countrysides of northern Italy. And then Victor Emmanuel was like, chill, we don't want any help anymore. Garibaldi he was on a path. He wasn't going to stop. He went to Sicily, the kingdom of the two Sicilies. He did the same thing there. And then Victor Emmanuel was like, all right, I'll take that land too. And then against the Pope, same thing. It's like it was an unrelenting push, but did take years. The same thing with the independence of Greece. That really was guerrilla warfare. The people of the mountains in southern Peloponnese, the clefts, where my dad's mum comes from, these people are just warrior people who lived in the mountains. Like, they are guerrilla warfare 101. And only because they attacked the Turks, who were very conventional warfare, fighting in the lowlands with big numbers. They were picked off one by one in the mountains by the clefts, the Greeks. And it took from 1821, it really took from the 1700s, but from 1821 to through the Balkan Wars, through the First and Second World War, only in 1945, 45 I would say, did Greece get its full geographic extent like today. It was a continued battle on and on and on. And look, sometimes you push, and sometimes you need to have a tactical retreat. I always talk about tactical retreats.
Yeah, I want also to ask you this, because you said once to me that's entrepreneurship or life or whatever. It's like war, right? That you have to have a period of preparation,
Yeah.
and then you go to work. You go to war, and on my own, I also added in between preparation and actually going to work, you also have to strategize.
Yes, of course. Well, that's what planning is. Strategy and tactics, right? Strategy is the bigger plan. Tactics is what you do, closer to the battle or in the battle, right? I mean, the way I see it, it makes it so much easier when you're in the Northern Hemisphere, by the way, because it feels like winter, which is, Christmas time. You can just work, be monk mode, and then you're ready for summer. And then that's the year. That's like the majority of the working year. But I see it as a campaigning season. Like all of European history, basically up until World War I, people only fought in summer. And in winter, you just chilled out. Frederick the Great was like was the first person to start fighting in the winter. But although that was a couple hundred years ago, like late 1700s or mid 1700s. But like, we should take the same approach. Now, look, you're still going to work every day.
Yep.
But the big pushes, the big campaigns, the big efforts should be basically from March till November, which is most of the year. But if you're doing work in November from scratch, that you're just starting fresh work, nothing's going to close. No money's really going to come in even from like October. If you start in October, barely going to scrape through in December. So like from March to October, you got to be really fighting, really pushing new ideas, new strategies, new products, new services. That's when you do it. And like just now, like yesterday, I left Cyprus. I finished my monk mode, and I'm ready. I'm healthy. My mindset's good. I know what I'm going to be doing new this year, which is a big push in content, big push in new clients. Fantastic. But at the same time, the tactical retreat comes in when you burn out. I burnt out more than enough times for sure. But you need to know your limitations, and that comes from self-awareness, right? If you know you can't, and look, the enemy in this warfare analogy is usually you and your general competition in your industry, and just general defeat is your enemy. Like for me, it's not even just that general, to be honest. Like burning out for me is like being broken homeless on the street, or even like depression, anxiety, and fucking being unalive. Like I've seen too many entrepreneurs unalive themselves from depression and anxiety. So for me, I'm not even remotely scared of what the competition could do, because I'm scared of how bad the effects of being a failure in entrepreneurship, in life, can be for me. Like, I have no delusions about how bad things can get. I've seen it. So for me, it's way less about, being an oppressive, aggressive warmonger. It's about being an intelligent tactician in this analogy. And really, more than anything, the goal should be longevity. So like having the longest reigning empire, doing that's able to achieve the greatest things.
Yeah, rather than just trying to explode within 6 months.
Exactly.
And then dying after 2.
The East Roman Empire started in 330 when Constantine refounded Constantinople, even though it was Byzantium before that, and it ended in 1453. That is how many years? That's like 1,120 odd years. That's the longest European empire ever. Sure, the Latins took over for a couple of years, but the Empire of Nicaea was there, so don't break my balls on that point. Like, it's the longest empire, and it was epic too. Even just from the people who lived within the empire, they had long stretches of peace, long stretches of prosperity. They had awesome battles, awesome art, awesome culture. There's a lot of awesome things that were done during that period. As opposed to Alexander the Great's empire. Now, look, did he do some dope stuff? Yeah, he conquered all the way from basically Thessaloniki today, or Cassandra, to the Ganges, and then all the way down to Egypt. Sweeping conquest, really amazing. But also, as soon as he died, it was over. It was the Diadochi Wars, and then, sure, there was Greek kingdoms, but it wasn't one empire. 100% it wasn't. Even the Mongol Empire, it didn't last very long. And in our lives, we don't want to, get super famous, get super rich in 1 year, and then it peters out over time, and in 5 years later, we're out of money, and we're a washout. That is not an ideal career. And I see that. I'm being in exits and acquisitions. I always think about the journey. I look at entrepreneurs, I look at celebrities, I look at artists. I'm like, well, yeah, you had a one-hit wonder. Like one of my favorite songs I listen to way too much. Somebody that I used to know. That dude had one song, epic song, but that was it. I would rather have 5 albums with a solid, loyal customer base over time that I can go and do concerts with consistently than just having one song that hit once and then I got nothing else to show for my career. The same goes in entrepreneurship. Like, as much as like some entrepreneurs do their one business and their one exit, and that's great. You see other entrepreneurs, you know what? This dude just kept going business after business, exit after exit, acquisition after acquisition, investment after investment. Like, he stayed in the game, basically. That is something I respect.
I wanted to come back to this lesson that you gave me, because I really believe that any ambitious 20 years old guy should start doing the same thing. So the first thing was fixing your current life, right? So first thing was getting off your loans, your debts.
Well, yeah, the first thing that you and I did, and I do this with all my friends who are open to help, is you have to do, like I do with businesses who come to sell or buy, we do an audit. Like almost like a accountant does. How much debt? What are your debts? How much debt do you have? What are your liabilities? What are your assets? Do you own an unnecessarily expensive motorbike that you don't even ride? So sell it. Like, this is the most, aggressive debt that you have with the highest percentage interest rate. Pay it off. Now you have the money. Why not pay it off? So you're not wasting money. Oh, this one? Okay, we'll put a payment plan together for this one. Sell this, do that. First thing is the audit. Second thing is the money list. Come up with 20 ideas to make money. Different ideas, sell this, sell that. Start this business. And then take action on that.
Yeah. And probably the thing that helped me the most is to put perfectionism aside.
Yeah.
I always had this problem in anything I did. First of all, it took me ages to just get started because I was stuck with my perfectionism. I wasn't really doing anything.
Man, another way to see your perfectionism is also just indecision.
Yeah,
like,
as well.
I saw this between myself, the differences between myself. Look, I sometimes, some things I like to be a perfectionist about. But I know that, in business, usually the winner isn't the one who did the most perfect job. The winner is someone who did something within 5% accuracy, but did it quickly.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and that's how I was at school. That's how it was when I did cadets. Like, we got the shit done, and it was efficient and quick and productive. And the small inaccuracies people can forgive because it was done so swiftly. And I mean, look, indecision is a hell of a thing because, especially with young men, this is like a story ages old. I mean, it's like Macbeth. I always think about Macbeth because that whole bloody story is just about a dude who can't decide what the fuck he wants to do with his life. To be or not to be, that is the question. Yeah. But you know what? If you made the decision up front and it was the wrong decision and then you changed to the opposite decision, but you did one and then you did the other 100%, it would have been a 6-page fucking story instead of a whole novel.
Yeah.
I've made the mistakes. Then I'm like, okay, great, that was dumb. Don't do that. Change. Right? And you're still going to arrive at your location faster and your destination.
And the other problem that I found, which was probably the biggest problem during my latest year, because I got into like self-improvement when I was 18. Yeah, I think I stopped drinking and partying and basically wasting my time at 18 after losing my girlfriend, after breaking up with her. And but yeah, I was actually like improving my mental health, my physique and all this stuff, my discipline, but I wasn't actually doing anything. I was trying maybe something, and then I was giving up after 2 or 3 months because I wasn't seeing the results. And one thing that's really helped me with that is to really focus on the activity as if it is the actual outcome. Because if you're just looking at the outcome, you're gonna give up after 2 or 3 months because you won't really get the result that you're actually waiting for.
But yeah, man, at the end of the day, it comes down to you need to be able to try multiple things. I tried multiple things. Mm-hmm. You need to assess whether this is an objective worth investing more time in and resources, or you maybe need to cut your losses and retreat, tactical retreat, and strategize and go to the next objective or another objective. Sometimes all you can do is fight a defensive war, man. Like one of my favorite campaigns of the Roman Empire is Heraclius' campaign against the Parthians. It's like 660, 650 AD. The Parthians are pushing into the Roman Empire through Armenia, and Heraclius basically goes on a multi-year campaign to not make one big massive battle. He can't afford that. And he knows that the empire is basically broke. Manpower is super low. So he needs to keep it cheap, and he needs to keep it. He can't have one single major loss, basically. And like in our 20s, we don't want to have a massive loss either. We don't want to lose a bunch of money on one business. We don't want to lose a bunch of our years and our effort in one business venture. So what do? Maybe you need to go from castle to castle, from fort to fort, from tower to tower, from town to town, on the boundaries of your life and your comfort zone, and conquer it step by step like Heraclius did. Conquer it battle by battle, fort by fort, siege by siege. Play it safe and risk it. Make risks, take risks in limited capacities. And he won that campaign. Little did he know the Arabs would come out of Arabia and destroy most of the work he did, almost all the work he did. But again, that's why I love the East Roman Empire so much as an example. It's like, that was a step-by-step war that he won. And then there was this massive tidal wave of change that came, which was the Arabs coming out of Arabia. But still, the East Roman Empire existed for another, holy shit, 4, 5, 6, 800 years. Like they still existed in a defensive capacity. And that's the way I see it. I see my career more than anything as the Eastern Roman Empire. Periods of flourishing, periods of defensive retreats, periods of defensive attacks. But there is a way to build a business in your 20s in a limited capacity by taking small risks step by step. And sometimes all you're doing is just testing for weakness. And that's what they're doing even in, modern battles in Ukraine now. A lot of the time, they're just, the small encounters that they have all along the border are just testing for weakness. Where is their weakness in the enemy's lines? And for you, that might just be doing daily or weekly research on what types of businesses and business ideas and industries may or may not be interesting, may or not be promising.
And what's how you don't get stuck in this?
Well, look, you need to validate
research.
Well, yeah, look, you can't have shiny object syndrome. I was a victim of that, and like I remember meeting with my mentor Rowan, like every 3 months, and be like, "I'm doing this new business." He's like, "Dude, this thing was going well." Like I had my marketing agency. He's like, "Dude, the marketing agency was going well. Why are you stopping? It's just about to get good, man."
The point, yeah.
And he was right. I fucked up. And I'm like, damn, like, because we want money so quickly when we're young. And the one weird thing I did was, you know what? I am going to stick to that one thing I was always good at, selling businesses. I know e-commerce. I know sales. Just do that one thing consistently. And yeah, man, there's a reason why the success rate for 20-year-old and teenage entrepreneurs is so low, and it's so much higher for 60-year-old, 50-year-old, 70-year-old
entrepreneurs. When you're
entrepreneurs.
younger, it's harder to stick to one thing.
Yep. I mean, they're richer, they have contacts. Sure, that's a good point. But also, you just think that like life is this long. It's like life is like 3 or 4 years long. That's how long it feels like when you're a kid. But then you're like, no, I could be working on this business for 50 years, dude. So relax and know that. Like when I run a marathon and I know I'm about to run a marathon, I know that the first kilometer shouldn't be the fastest kilometer of my life. It should be a pretty medium kilometer. I should have a good pace, but it should be just above medium speed because I'm going to have to be doing 42 of these. So I better keep it at a reasonable rate so I don't burn out. And also I don't want to be too slow, but I don't want to burn out either. Push yourself beyond your limits and then pull back to where is optimally sustainable. That's a quote that keeps rattling around my head. This year, I mean, you can do that every single year. I mean, in your 20s, you should do that every year. Push yourself, especially in the campaigning season, to your limits of how much content can we make. Like you and we're creating content every day. Like, can we do that for a year? Can we make 2-3 pieces of content a day? Should we put it across different platforms? Should we do different content for different platforms? Like, what is the limit of what we're able to do? And then what is optimally sustainable? If you're not figuring that out in your life, what the fuck are you doing? What are we doing if we're not figuring that out?
Yeah. And another thing, which is in my opinion fundamental in your business, hustle, entrepreneurship decision, was that in the end, it doesn't really matter what you choose. Of course, you have to choose from a pool of possibilities, of opportunities that might work in this period. But in the end, it doesn't really matter what you choose. It's not that important. It's not as important as we think at that point, because in the end, it's just the same. It's just working on the main task to start as soon as possible that business
That's the funny thing, man.
and growing it. You don't. It's the same thing. Whatever you choose, if you choose to start an agency, if you choose to, I don't know, an e-commerce or whatever you choose, in the end, it's the same thing. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
man. It's like whatever it is, you're just learning all these micro skills. You're learning leadership. You're learning how to be individualism, how to do things on your own without help, without waiting for help. These are all concepts that, honestly, it's so funny to think that it doesn't actually matter about the idea when people think it's all about the idea. You just pick up any idea, get good at putting ideas together, pushing it out, and then you're like, you know what, that was pretty good for that time. I think I'm going to do something else now. And then you move on to the next business. Maybe you sell it, maybe you don't.
What's the time frame for that, in your opinion? It depends on your business.
I think if you can see something is definitely not worth your time and effort quickly, then great, get rid of that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just moving away from it because you're bored or you haven't got the quickest money from it, then I think that's foolish. Stick to it. I remember I quit my marketing agency for a period because people weren't paying their invoices quick enough. I'm like, this is a terrible business structure because I get paid ages later. It's like, that's not a good reason. Just change some things in your business, get paid a bit earlier, change the terms.
Mm-hmm.
Still a good business.